Hey, what's up you guys? Bloody Jacob here to bring another movie review. This time we're going to be talking about Resident Evil Afterlife. And this is, of course, the fourth entry in the movie series. And I reviewed Resident Evil Extinction not too long ago, as well as the first two films a few months back, so you can go on my channel and look for those. There's a movie review playlist to help you guys find them a little bit quicker. Or you can just search it in the search bar, it's not that difficult. But yeah, either way, here we are now. And I have Resident Evil Afterlife here. This is the Blu-ray re-releases they've been doing. They did this for both Resident Evil and Underworld. And, I talked more about this in my review of Resident Evil Extinction, but in the past I've had sort of like a love-hate relationship with these movies, because I am a big fan of the games. I enjoyed all of them I played. I loved Resident Evil 6. Okay, whereas people give that one shit all the time, and I always held a grudge against the movies because they took a game series that has really interesting, complicated stories with good characters and suspense, as well as major action, and they simplified it. And when they do have characters appear from the video games, they usually simplify them and only make them like hollowed out in-name versions of themselves only. But for the past week or two, I've taken a different perspective on it. I'm trying to not think about them, oh, these are Resident Evil movies, so they gotta be like the games. I'm trying to think, okay, I'm sitting down here to watch what's hopefully an entertaining sci-fi action horror movie type of thing. And since I've done that, I've actually begun to enjoy the Resident Evil movies. And I liked the first movie. I thought Apocalypse was alright too. I really like Extinction, actually. And Afterlife, I thought it was alright. It's not my favorite so far. There were things I liked about it, for sure. Things I really liked about it, actually, but certain things didn't quite click as much with me. I'm looking forward to watching Retribution, though, which I'll do a review of as soon as I do. That'll probably be within the next few days or so. But Resident Evil Afterlife, I don't know if it's my least favorite so far or not, but I thought it was okay. Of course, this one takes place sometime after Extinction, and Extinction, we had that kind of cool ending of Alice finding all those clones of herself and promising to go after Umbrella and Wesker and stuff like that, and we get that opening sequence in this movie, and I definitely had a couple problems with it, to say the least. Well, first off, like the effects or the way the whole thing was shot with her coming down the wires and stuff like that, some of those just looked really off for some reason. Like they've done things like that a little bit better before, so it looked a little bit weird in this movie when they would shoot things like that. And then also there are tons of Alice clones at the end of Resident Evil Extinction. Like dozens and dozens and dozens and dozens, probably closer to 100 or more, I'd think, is what what they're showing the scope of it as they're panning the camera out and such. But in this one we only see maybe a dozen or less. I think not too much more, too much less. So that was a little bit odd. It'd be one thing if they had like a bunch of Alices and like Wesker had some kind of trap and killed a bunch of them or something. I don't know. But yeah, it just felt odd that they showed us all of that. Then we get basically like just like another glorified Alice action scene. So that part was a little bit weird. As far as the actual fight with Wesker went, though, I thought it was actually pretty decent. The opening part, I mean. And I like Milla Jovovich quite a bit now, actually, and I think she does a fine job for the role she's in. I can buy into her physicality and just how much I know she does enjoy making these movies with her husband. Of course, this one is also written and directed by Paul W.S. Anderson again. I sort of like how bloody the fight with Wesker got, and Wesker eventually takes away her powers, like her superhuman abilities or whatever. And, there's a little bit of an issue with that because when the plane crashes, supposedly killing Wesker, but Alice survives, Like, she doesn't look too badly injured either. So I'm not sure how that happened, but, I guess that's one of the things he probably got let go, I suppose. And people also point out, okay, she got her powers taken away, but yet she's still jumping around and doing everything she normally could. I try to think of it as maybe it just, took away her telekinetic powers that she was, using quite a bit in the third movie, Extinction, maybe. So that's what I kind of go with in my head anyway. But after that, most of this movie revolves around her. She's searching for Arcadia. She thinks it's in the Arctic. It turns out to be the ship in the city that's just, infested with, with infected. So I sort of like how the city was shot. It's nice to see, a big city again after getting, the complete, Vegas desert or whatever in the third movie. I felt like the buildings should have been a little bit more destroyed than they were, though, but I like the coloring and lighting to it, I guess. And, so she's looking for Arcadia, and she also, when she gets to the island that they're supposed to be directed toward, she finds Claire. I forget what they're called, but this thing on her chest that's controlling her and injecting her things to make her go insane, basically. I probably explained that wrong. She finds Claire, and she manages to get it off of her, but she doesn't have her memory for a while. And, Alice is also, in the meantime, recording, videos of herself, just talking about what she's going through and the details of everything and the results and stuff like that. I thought that part was okay. And, as far as Claire in this movie, I thought she was alright as well. She's involved in a pretty cool action bit a little bit later. But I didn't really think the whole, memory loss thing was that necessary, I guess. Because it almost felt like the whole group, that she was leading in Extinction was, all for nothing, really, because she doesn't remember any of them, and when she does start remembering stuff, it doesn't really feel that major in the movie, which is odd. But, like I said, they find out Arcadia's on a ship, and they, like I said, the city's infested with infected, and they end up, crashing the plane on this building. Of course, so they meet Luther, who is a decent character, by the way. I forget the actor playing him, but I thought he was an alright addition. And then, there's a couple others that I don't really remember their names, honestly. And then another big thing in this movie is that we meet the movie version of Chris Redfield. Chris Redfield being one of my two favorite characters in the video game series. Him and Ada Wong have always been my favorites. And I was eager yet, nervous to see what they did with him in this movie. I'd read about it before, but I never actually seen the movie all the way through. He's played by Wentworth Miller, who's known for his work on things like Prison Break. He was in DC Legends of Tomorrow recently as Captain Cold. He's not a bad actor necessarily, and I sort of like the Chris Redfield voice he goes for. He tries a little bit with that, I think. It's okay. I don't know. I think they could have chosen someone a little bit better for the role. I'm not saying that Wentworth Miller's a terrible actor, but he comes off a little bit dry, and I feel like, there are better guys, physically, or, I get that maybe they didn't have to go for, the Resident Evil 5, 6, buffed up version of Chris. Maybe they're going for, the sleeker look to him in the earlier games. But I don't know. I feel like they could have gone with someone else for it. And the way Chris is written in this movie, he's almost not like Chris Redfield at all, which of course is disappointing for me because, like I say, he's one of my two favorites along with Ada. He almost has more of a personality like Leon in the games, with the way he talks and such, or there's a sense of humor, I guess, and but a even less charismatic version of Leon Kennedy, basically. So that part was odd as well. At one point, I guess it was rumored that Jensen Ackles, who I love on Supernatural, he was going to be Leon, show up in the third one, and then be a focus in this one. I feel like they should have gone that way instead, but I don't know whatever happened with that. But yeah, Chris Redfield isn't really Chris Redfield. Like I said, he feels very lifeless, another hollowed version of a beloved video game character, and there's really no ties to make us feel like he is Chris Redfield, honestly, besides the name, because we don't get a sense that he's in a group called STARS or the BSAA or anything. It just sounds like he's part of the military group that was in the city or something. So I don't know. And then of course he is Claire's brother, and she doesn't recognize him, of course, at first, and eventually it clicks with her a little bit. But when that happens, we don't really get anything. There's no moment where they realize, oh yeah, we are so linked, because we did this for each other, we care so much about each other now. There's no moment like that where you really buy into it. So that didn't work too well. That part was just a little bit off, I thought. I guess I read on IMDb at one point they're going to have Claire have flashbacks to their history together, moments they had together over the years. Maybe that would have helped a bit, but they didn't really do anything with it in this movie, which is, again, weird. A couple things I did like about the movie, however, is they sort of incorporated some Resident Evil 5 stuff into this. I did really enjoy Resident Evil 5, honestly. In this, they have some of the enemies that are definitely reminiscent of them, like the majini, and they have the open mouth, sort of flower thing going on. So the more mutant infected we get in this one, which is cool. And then we also had they call it the axeman in the movie, but it's the executioner in the game. Big, tall, hooded guy with a giant axe, almost sledgehammer thing. So I thought he was actually pretty cool. So it was good to see that, as a fan of the game. But other than that, there aren't too many other positives I can really say. I'll say I still enjoyed some of the action in it, though, and that's kind of what I watch it for. Milla Jovovich, running around, being awesome. But, this one wasn't, significantly worse than Extinction, because I did like Extinction. I gave it a solid B. But just the fact that I had Chris in it, and then they, made him what he is, or what he isn't, that makes it a little bit worse for me to watch, even if the whole movie wasn't that bad. Just what I did with Chris, just disappointed me quite a bit, because I like the character so much. And of course, Albert Wesker, he turns out to be alive. He's played by Shawn Roberts in this, not Jason O'Mara. They're both about even for me. I still feel like they haven't really gotten Albert Wesker right either. I guess this guy's a little bit better with the personality. But at the same time, he feels like a Agent Smith ripoff, and there's a little bit more to Wesker than that, so that part's a little bit weird too. So in the final fight they have with him, it's alright, but again, that's another thing that bugs me with the Chris Redfield thing, because in this movie, Chris Redfield has no idea who Wesker is. He might only have a faint idea of what Umbrella is. Whereas in the games, he has this large, very personal history with Albert Wesker, but in this, he doesn't even know who the damn guy is. So what the fuck are they thinking when they had Chris in this movie? If they weren't going to really have him in the movie. Yeah. Excuse me. Like I said, I did like that executioner guy being in the movie. I liked the fight scene he had with Alice and Claire. It was a little bit different to have Claire get the spotlight, so I like the way that was shot, with the water coming down and such. I thought that actually looked really cool. I like the majini stuff that I talked about. And the final fight with Wesker is actually pretty decent. The choreography with Chris and Claire going after him, even though Chris doesn't have any idea who he is for some reason. The choreography still reminds you a lot of some of the cutscenes in Resident Evil 5, which is nice. And then Alice, actually, of course, being the one to put him down, from what I remember anyway. I'm not quite sure. Yeah. And just the way they shoot him up over and over and over. I like the blow that was involved with that. But of course, Wesker still turns out to be alive. Alice had plants a bomb on the thing he was trying to take off in, and it explodes. But as we see Luther emerging from a tunnel, we see that there's a little parachute coming down. So Wesker again made it out. Luther, meanwhile, is thought to have been dragged off around the majini when they're trying to crawl through and escape, but he survives. He goes on to be in Retribution, I think. So that part's okay, and it ends with a ton of Umbrella troops led by Jill Valentine. Descending on Arcadia, the ship, just as Alice, sends off a message, they still count on Arcadia, they will be out there trying to help people. And I guess at one point they're planning on ending the movie that way on a more hopeful note, but I forget who wanted it, but someone wanted more of a cliffhanger, ending like this. And I thought it was alright. But the thing that does bother me is that we never see Chris Redfield again, even though I really didn't like what they did and didn't do with him. Just to introduce Chris and never show him again, it's really, really odd. They should have at least kept up with the version they had. Maybe they could have done more with them, but well, I guess. But overall, I hated a lot on this movie in this video, but I didn't really hate it. Like I said, I like some of the action. I still really like Milla Jovovich as Alice. I like the executioner stuff as well as the majini. I like the look of the city. So the way some of the fight scenes were shot, I like that. The wiring, the opening sequence with the assault on Umbrella was a little bit odd. But I still didn't think it was awful. I guess if I had to rate it, I'd rate it like I'm gonna go a C plus on this one. I could probably put it down to about a C or so. But I still didn't hate it. I still enjoyed watching it, but just some things disappointed me about this with the inclusion of Chris more than Extinction did. But I am looking forward to watching Retribution. I'm still enjoying watching these movies, and I still don't think they get all the hate they deserve for sure. I think they're definitely entertaining as fuck. So yeah, let me know what you guys thought about this one. Black Hood, I had a conversation with you about it already, but I would love to talk about it more, man. So type away, and we'll talk more about it here. You can follow me on Facebook, Twitter, subscribe. I'll catch you guys next time for Vampire Diaries review tomorrow. Late, but I will still do it. And catch you guys next time. Peace.